28 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Daybreak this morning. We're joined by Chief Jeremiah Walker of Walker Creek Nation and his sister, Becky Wright, second chief in charge. And thanks to you both for being here this morning.
Thank you, sir.
When I first saw the story about the possibility of gaming, casino, hotels coming to Talladega County, I was like a lot of people, I guess, shocked. Chief, talk about that a little bit.
Well, this has been in the process for many years. About 3.5 years ago, we reconstituted ourselves, we reconstituted ourselves 1.5 years ago, but prior to that, the tribe about 3.5 years ago had made the decision to go this route. When that happened, we had to do all of our due diligence, all of our planning, all of our legal research, hire the right teams, get the right lawyers. Once we did this, we got the paperwork process completed, and in March 22nd, 2014, we delivered our first submission to Washington, D.C. They've been very positive with their responses, and things looks pretty good.
Now, you guys are brother and sisters, right?
Yes, sir.
And tell us a little bit about your background. Becky, we'll start with you.
Well, my grandfather was the Indian chief of Coosa County. He was well known in Sylacauga. He worked at Avondale Mills for 50-something years. Mm-hmm. And he used to do the rain dances at the DeSoto Caverns. And they had 7 children, him and my grandmother. And altogether, there's probably 150.
Now, he was full-blooded Indian, is that correct?
He was a full-blooded Creek Indian.
Okay.
And he was the Indian chief of Coosa County. And he was sort of a weird type man, they would say. He believed in a lot of Indian traditions.
Mm-hmm. Such as?
He could make warts go away, or he could talk fire out of people. He had a lot of powers within him that, he was brought up in as an Indian. He was well loved by everybody. All of his children, his grandchildren just adored him. And my grandmother also, and they helped to build Estelle Baptist Church, the old one.
Really?
And that's exactly where they went to church at.
Wow.
And it was also a major factor in establishing the Comer Museum and Art
Exactly.
Center here in Sylacauga.
And he belonged to the Masonic Lodge. Mm-hmm. He was just a great person and a good people to be around. Mm. And our whole family just about has joined the Walker Creek Nation, in which we're going to build the casino.
Chief, this Walker Creek Nation, where did this come from?
Well, for 5 generations before there's been many chiefs. For 5 generations, every one of them's last name has been Walker. When we reconstituted ourselves, we did so and went from Middle Creeks, which we were the successor of, and changed it to Walker Creeks. It's a dynasty name.
Can this actually happen in our area?
I believe that as long as every member of the tribe takes on each one of them believes that it's their individual responsibilities to make sure that this happens, I don't see any reason we couldn't do it.
What's your dream? What do you see happening here? You're targeting, 2018 or so?
To hopefully break ground. I wish to do that before the end of my first term. Yes, sir.
What do you envision as seeing with this project?
Well, there's a lot. You have to understand that there's a lot of opportunities with economic prosperity. You got the government HUD, you got for the tribal housing, you got the medical care, you got the educational assistance programs, you got so many more things that you get by getting your federal recognition for the tribe, and then you are also allotted to, if needed and if wished, to go before the Indian Gaming Commission.
We're talking with Chief Jeremiah Walker of the Walker Creek Nation and Becky Wright, who is the second chief in charge. And we're talking about the possibility of a casino being built, hotels come into the area. And that has to be, Becky, quite a challenge, however, to get this done, get your arms around it.
We're working on it. My brother and I both have been steadily, constantly in contact with other people that has been helping us, a lawyer, and people in Washington, and also in Oklahoma. And we're really trying hard because it's going to help our schools and stuff so much. And I've got children and grandchildren that go to school in Sylacauga, which is at Comer. And it would be wonderful. You know, you'd be surprised how many children that needs computers.
School books, new books.
Yeah, new books, computers at the schools.
Upgraded buses.
Yes, there's a lot of things that could be done with the money made from the casinos.
Chief, how old are you?
I just turned 34.
Wow. The legislature has just ended the special session.
Yes.
Governor Bentley has promised to call him back again because, the budget, supposed to be set October 1, I think it is. Does this tie with helping the budget in Alabama?
We haven't made any proposals.
Okay.
We are not affiliated. We're a different sovereign entity than the lower creeks. The Creek Nation is split 4 ways, and it specifically states in the Treaty of Peace of 1790 that the Creek Nation is split between the upper, middle, lower creeks, and Seminoles. The Seminoles were originally Creek. Seminoles are down in Florida. The lower creek are today named Porch. The middle creek, which is are now named Walker Creeks, and the upper creek is of another sovereign entity.
Walker Creek Nation, how many people are in this tribe?
We're fairly small, which isn't a bad thing, but it is, we're not the numbers of the lower creeks. You have to consider we're just the Coosa Valley.
How's the response been from the state of Alabama, and particularly this local area?
Well, I haven't had any communication with the government of the state in regards to this. They're not mentioned but one place in the entire 25 CFR 83. So there's not even a means to or a reason to have to communicate with the state. But now on retrospect, the local community has been very responsive because you have to understand if they wish for something, say, police cars, all they would have to do is come before the board, get put on the agenda, we vote. If we can allot it out of the Treasury, we will.
So this can be a very lucrative happening in our community, and you sound like that you're very well versed on what you can do and what you can't do. Have you gone before? Have you talked with the mayors in the area or city council or anything like that?
No, sir, but if they would wish, I would, but I haven't really had no forms of such. It's just scuttlebutt talk, Navy term for hearing stuff over the water fountain.
Okay. Becky, talk a little bit about your concern for our local schools. You talked about it a little bit earlier. You have a deep concern about this.
Yes, because I know so many people that don't have money to buy their children's computers that they have to have starting to school. They have problems with things at the school that the school needs so badly. And I just know that if we could get this in here where we could give money, I know that financially we will help the schools and the surrounding area as much as possible. It would also give people jobs in Sylacauga. I mean, if it goes like we planned, restaurant, different, people we will need. Of course, most of it will be run by the Indians, but there will be other jobs that will be available. And it'll just help our community so much.
And there's 2 different phases. You got the construction, employment opportunities. Once the brick masons is done laying the last brick, well, what he will have to find something different. But you also have the operational aspect of it where there's going to be the continued life where someone's going to have a job for as many years as they wish to stay.
Have you kind of looked at this to see how many jobs in the foreseeable future that could be generated by this?
Yes, sir. Well, what you do is you build it in phases. You go phase 1, which would be the most lucrative economical portion of it, which most people would assume would be gaming. The second part you build would be the second most economically lucrative, which would be the retails and shops and restaurants. The third thing you would build would be possibly the hotel. Then the fifth would be the parking garage. The last thing you would build is the golf course. and you build it in phases.
We're joined this morning by Chief Jeremiah Walker of Walker Creek Nation, and along with his sister, Rebecca Becky Wright, who is second chief in charge. Talk about Washington. What role are they playing in this? Well,
there's the federal recognition process. They are very, very positive, but the hindrance is it takes so long to communicate, because once you submit a package, then you typically get a response within 90 to 120 days. So if you do the math, you get 3, and if you're lucky, possibly only 4 communications a year. So that makes it kind of time delaying, but everything's been positive.
Acreage. You'll need acreage to build a facility like this.
Yes, sir. And there's options. We don't have just one location. We have many that meet the standards for the legal definitions to do such, but there is a pecking order. And
are you at liberty to discuss at this point?
Not without the landowners here.
Okay. Okay. Becky, I know that you're excited about this,
yes, I am.
and the possibilities seem limitless, really, on this.
Yes, I'm very excited, and we've waited so long and worked so hard till I hope that we are able to do it. And my family, we meet usually 2 to 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. This last time we met all at the Comer Museum, and everybody was excited. Yeah.
That was when we amended and ratified our Constitution.
Now, a question that I'm sure has already been posed, and this is the Bible Belt. This is the heart of the Bible Belt. Very religious, Christian-oriented community, and Alabama is not, with the government at least. There's some folks trying to get a vote in this legislative session about gaming. But this area. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm a Christian. Okay. I love the Lord, and I serve Him. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people that are Christians that go down to Wetumpka or go to different places mm-hmm. gambling, but I don't feel like it's a sin because we're not doing it in the church house. Mm-hmm.
Well, I had one preacher say, something negative, and I responded to the gentleman and I stated, there's many different people in the world with many different beliefs, with many different prejudices and understandings and things to that effect. And it's because we have so many differences is that laws are created in order to facilitate good order. I shall follow the law and we shall have good order.
This morning we are talking with Chief Jeremiah Walker of Walker Creek Nation and Rebecca Becky Wright, second chief in charge. Chief, talk about your background and talk about your upbringing.
Well, it was pretty rough, but it made me who I am, and everything in my history.
I can tell it's very emotional for you when you think about that.
Everything has prepared me for this day.
Okay.
He was in the Navy for a while. I think what was an airplane fighter?
No, I was a rescue swimmer for HS6.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. How can people find out more about who you guys are and what you're trying to do in this area?
Well, the best thing to do would be go to the Comer Museum and see the Native American Arts Gallery that my grandfather, Chief Garfield Lee Walker Sr., was such a major factor in helping establish. There you can see all of our history, our documents, all of our members. You can see the everything. You got all the history. He did this because he wanted to record his history, and that's why we have this opportunity. You could start there would be the best option.
Is there a website or anything set up so far?
No, sir. We don't have a website. We do things with. I was taught in business that you don't advertise unless you're making money.
Also, in the book of Trails of Tears, I think is the name of it, our great-grandfather was in that book, William Felix Walker. And my dad carried on that name, William Felix Walker Sr. And my brother had passed away back in February. He was William Felix Walker Jr.
So how
And
far does this go back?
My
This-
nephew is Will Felix Walker III,
Wow.
and so we go way back.
Yeah.
Where if you look at our recorded history at the museum, it goes all the way back to the date of DeSoto.
That's a while ago.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you both for being here this morning
Thank you.
and for kind of educating people like me as to what you got in mind and what the plans are and where we are on the plans. You kind of, Chief, target possibility of breaking ground in 2018 before the end of your first term. How many years term is a tribal chief?
There's only a 4-year term, and I've served a year and a half now. I have 2.5 years left on my first term.
Now, is these positions elected or appointed or what?
No, sir. We're an elected officials. We are a democratic government. This is not a democracy. Not a dictatorship. It's a true elected democratic system.
Okay.
And our Constitution states it.
All right. Hey, thanks to both of you for being here
Thank
this
you.
morning, and continued success. Chief Jeremiah Walker, Walker Creek Nation, along with his sister, Rebecca Becky Wright, who's second chief in charge. We've got more on Daybreak coming up on the other side of this timeout.